Wolf Lair. The Wolf Lair served as Adolf Hitler's first Eastern Front military headquarters in World War II. The headquarters was located in the Masurian Woods, about 8 kilometers east of the small East Prussian town of Rastenburg, in present-day Poland, being one of the most heavily guarded places in the world. The central complex and the Führer bunker was surrounded by the 3 security zones guarded by 2 SS units, the SS Escort Command of the Führer, and the Reich Security Service. The most notable event that occurred at the Wolf Lair was the assassination attempt against Hitler on the 20th of July 1944. The name is derived from Wolf, a self-adopted nickname of Hitler. He began using the nickname in the 1920s, and it was often how he was addressed by those in his intimate circle. Wolf was used in several titles of Hitler's headquarters throughout occupied Europe. A part of the preparations for the coming Operation Barbarossa, the decision was made in late 1940 to build the military headquarters. The new headquarters had to be as close to the front as possible, but far enough to be safe from enemy forces, far from roads and urban areas, and accessible only by a single railway and a small airstrip. To maintain secrecy, locals were told that the construction works were for a new factory. The organization took completed construction by the 21st of June 1941. Hitler first arrived at the headquarters on the 24th of June 1941, 2 days after Barbarossa commenced. Over 2,000 people lived and worked at the Wolf Lair. Additional construction work began in mid-1944 to enlarge and reinforce many of the original buildings on the site on Hitler's order, although the work was never completed because of the Red Army's rapid advance during the Baltic Offensive. The buildings within the complex were camouflaged with bushes, grass, and artificial trees. Netting was also erected between buildings and the surrounding forest so that the installation looked like unbroken dense woodland from the air. The site consists of 3 concentric security zones. Security Zone the first was located at the heart of the Wolf Lair. The perimeter was ringed by a steel fencing and guarded by the SS. Within the compound, security was managed by the Escort Command of the Führer. The zone contained the Führer bunker built from 2-meter thick steel reinforced concrete. These shelters protected members of Hitler's inner circle, such as Martin Bormann, Wilhelm Keitel, Hermann Göring, and Alfred Jodl. Hitler's accommodation was on the northern side of the Führer bunker, so as to avoid direct sunlight. Both Hitler's and Keitel's bunkers had additional rooms where military conferences could be held. The Security Zone II surrounded the inner zone. The area housed the quarters of several Reich ministers, such as First Tod, Albrecht Speer, and Joachim von Ribbentrop. It also housed the quarters of the personnel who worked in the Wolf Lair and the military barracks for the Reich Security Service. Security Zone III was a heavily fortified outer security area which surrounded the 2 inner zones. It was defended by landmines and the Führer Escort Brigade. The Führer Escort Brigade was equipped with tanks, anti-aircraft guns, and other heavy weapons. Any approaching aircraft could be detected up to 100 kilometers from the site. Additional troops were also stationed about 75 kilometers away. On Thursday, the 20th of July 1944, an attempt was made to kill Hitler and the Wolf Lair. It was organized by a group of acting and retired officers, as well as some civilians who wanted to remove Hitler and establish a new democratic government. However, the main challenge facing the conspirators was that Hitler's habit of last-minute changes to his schedule had led by others to kill him. Eventually, the conspirators chosen the Wolf Lair as a viable location to target Hitler, because it was the only place where they were sure they could get close enough to kill him. A staff officer Colonel Claus von Stauffenberg volunteered to carry a bomb hidden in a briefcase into one of the daily military briefings. However, on the day of planned assassination, the location of the meeting was unexpectedly changed to Light Brick Hall. Despite this change in plans, Stauffenberg carrying out the plot. He carried the briefcase containing the bomb into the conference hut. making a request to be placed close to Hitler on grounds that he had trouble hearing due to his injuries sustained while fighting in North Africa, which would ensure that the bomb would be close enough to Hitler to be effective. The bomb exploded at precisely 12:24 p.m., with Stauffenberg having excused himself from the meeting a few minutes before. The interior of the building was devastated. 4 officers were injured, but Hitler was only slightly injured. This was due to the fact that one of the other officers present at the meeting had moved the briefcase from where it had been put. The result of this innocent action was that the heavy table absorbed most of the blast, and this, along with the collapse of some of the hot stone walls, saved the Führer's life. Even before the bomb detonated, Stauffenberg and his adjutant, Lieutenant Werner von, had already begun their departure for Berlin. Their escape involved passing through various security zones that controlled all access around the site. The attempted assassination was derived from Operation Valkyrie, a covert plan officially sanctioned by Hitler for the reserve army to take control and suppress any revolt in the country in the event of his untimely death, which the conspirators adopted to suit their purpose. Unfortunately for the conspirators, news soon arrived from the Wolf Lair that Hitler was still alive. Upon hearing from propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels that Hitler was indeed alive, as well as speaking to Führer himself, Major Ernest Römer, in command of the reserve army's troops, was fully convinced of Hitler's survival, and he quickly re-established control of key government buildings and arrested the conspirators. The same evening, Stauffenberg and his co-conspirators were summarily executed by gunshot in Berlin. The Red Army reached the borders of East Prussia during the Baltic Offensive in October 1944. Hitler departed from the Wolf Lair for the final time on Monday, the 20th of November 1944. 2 days later, the order was given to destroy the complex. The demolition took place on the night of the 24th of January 1945. Tons of explosives were used. Most of the buildings were only destroyed due to their immense size and reinforced structures. The Red Army captured the abandoned remains of the Wolf Lair on the 27th of January without firing a shot. Since the fall of communism in the early 1990s, the Wolf Lair has been developed as a tourist attraction. Hotels and restaurants have grown up near the site. As of 2019, the site was drawing almost 300,000 visitors a year. Critics worried that the planned changes could turn the site into a place for neo-Nazis, although the district's spokesperson said that they would make every effort to maintain due seriousness and respect for historical truths.